Hello and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. I'm Chuck Wooden. I'm joined by my co-host, Donna Dunyan. Donna, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our guests. For those of you that are new to the Veterans Corner, this is a show dedicated for veterans, service members, and those in the community that support them. Our focus is to bring you information on important issues as well as programs and resources available in the community.
Thanks, Donna. We have Resilience Grows here with us today. It's a group that's been here many times in the past. It's a very important topic, subject matter that we've talked about in the past, and it's great to have you.
Great to be back.
You know, we were talking before the show started. We're more than likely going to make this a two-part series.
You just know I talk too much, Chuck.
Well, I didn't want to say that in front of the viewers.
They know I talk too much.
Well, you know, but they know that when you do talk, it's great content.
It's important.
You know, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Lee.
Yes, sir.
You were here just recently with the VFW. It's great to see you back.
I enjoyed being here. I'll come back anytime you need me.
Yeah, well, it's you shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
What do they say in the military? Never volunteer?
Yeah. This has a good purpose.
Yes, it does. For those that don't know, Justine's the director of Resilience Grows here. She has a bunch of other titles, but we'd be here probably during the whole duration of the show mentioning those. She's also with the Farmington Valley Health District.
I am.
Lee is the 3rd District Commander for the VFW, and he was just recently here talking about the VFW with Post 1926, Simsbury. So welcome back. Welcome back. It's great to have you. And we're going to jump right into this because this is a very important topic. It's on mental health, and you're going to have a lot of great information presented to you today. So let's dive into this.
So for Justine, for any of the new viewers who haven't seen your shows with Chuck before, can you give us a little background about Resilience Grows Here?
So Resilience Grows Here is a men's mental health initiative of the Farmington Valley Health District. So back in 2015, we were very fortunate to receive a $1.2 million grant from the Movember Foundation. So that enabled us to build a veterans mental health grant initiative, that really focused on our veterans' mental health. Yeah. Needless to say, everyone who's viewing this show understands the importance of veterans' mental health, but many community members don't. So our motto is veterans return to communities, not to programs. And part of our job is to help to educate the communities into which our veterans return, how to best promote good mental health and well-being, and how to assist the veterans that have sacrificed much of their lives in service of their country to be able to settle back in home and to be safe.
Yeah. You know, we've had this, I guess I'll call it a monkey on our back for the last 2 years.
Oh,
COVID.
That's a nice thing to call it.
Yeah, you know, it's. I was trying to be polite, but you know that has played a major role in mental health on so many fronts.
Absolutely.
What has the pandemic done? I should say to our communities in regards to mental health.
You know, I think maybe the better question is, what has the pandemic not done to our community? Yeah. You know, mental health and well-being has always been a taboo subject. It's a taboo subject in most Western countries. People don't like to talk about it. People don't want to feel vulnerable. People don't want to feel exposed. And for whatever reason, we have an assumption that if someone is struggling with their mental health and well-being, that they're somehow less than other people. Yeah. We don't tend to think that about physical health conditions, but we very much do about mental health conditions. And the pandemic has just intensified the struggles of those who were struggling before the pandemic, and it has exposed a whole new subsection of our population to mental health challenges that perhaps were rippling under the surface and weren't being triggered to the same degree as being put into a lockdown and a global pandemic might do to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's to go off the question base here for a second. I mean, the suicide rates.
Yeah. You know, it's been really interesting. When you look at the general population, believe it or not, suicide rates have gone down during the pandemic. Suicide attempts have gone up.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because, well, they think it's because people were at home and people were being observed more by their loved ones. So there was a better chance to get in early and maybe to be able to prevent a successful suicide completion. However, with our veterans, they are a much different group of individuals, and they are at much higher risk of suicide and suicidal ideations. In fact, the Wounded Warrior Project did a study in 2020 that looked at our veteran population from 2019 to 2020, and they reported that 51% of 30% of those veterans reported suicidal ideations in a 2-week period from the survey. So that's 30% of the surveyed veterans who reported having suicidal ideations.
Wow.
Wow.
That is huge.
That is very huge. And I think it's affected families differently when we talk about civilian families. And you're right, we're there, we see more what's going on with our loved ones versus veterans. They know what to do to not be seen.
Totally.
And to hide it from everyone, because that's their training.
Totally, and I think COVID has given them the opportunity, and I think, you know, I know a lot of the work that you do as well, Donna, you know, when we are working with vets who have been struggling with PTSD, you know, it takes a lot of work and a lot of energy to help them to, you know, to rejoin the community and feel safe in the community. Add a global pandemic and lock everybody down, send everybody home to work, you've just created the perfect storm. You've given back to those individuals who are just learning to trust the process and just learning to re-engage with, you know, workplaces and communities. You've sent them back into the dark where they've become very comfortable. So we have set ourselves back many, many years worth of work to try to encourage those individuals to feel safe again. You know, nothing is better for someone suffering PTSD who is suffering from triggers than to be at home without triggers.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of veterans who don't have that family compound.
Totally.
You know what I meant.
Yeah, they don't have a family support system.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, so they're there by themselves.
Yeah, and you know, one of the other things that we've seen is, you know, veterans with families. You know, this has happened in the civilian population. You know, now you put children at home who need to be educated. Not a parent on the planet has enjoyed having to be a teacher for the last 2 years. Add that additional stress on top of an already simmering powder keg of everybody's home. Dad's working from home, mum's working from home. Now we've got 3 small children that need to be entertained at home, that need to be educated at home. And all of those little open wounds that have been festering quietly in the background suddenly become big gaping holes. The amount of pressure in a house, the amount of pressure in a home, the amount of pressure on relationships becomes so immense that, you know, what was small to begin with is now exacerbated. So in a nutshell, that's what COVID has done to the mental health of our community.
Wow.
Lee, as a veteran yourself, what has the last 2 years with the pandemic done for you or other veterans to your mental health?
A lot of them being alone and not having a support structure around them, and now trying to get them to trust that it's okay to come back out and be part of the veteran community again. It's tough. I mean, I talk to a lot of the guys, and I'm not ready to come back. Yeah, I still don't trust it, and you know, I don't know if that guy, that person is got his shots, and it's tough to have them open back up and trust us. Like Justine was saying, it's going to take a long time to get all those guys back out, and all of, I mean, especially with the VFW. It's coming election time for our leaders, and a lot of them don't want to come out and do anything. They don't want to be part of it. You know, they don't want to be out there afraid to be out in public. But
I mean, the question there was, I mean, what did it look like for you as a veteran?
Well, to me, it was a two-edged sword. I enjoyed the sudden free time I needed to work on the house and do my projects, but not being able to talk to my friends in person and check on them and make sure they had what they needed was tough. And, trying to make sure they're taken care of and reflect on the time I need to get stuff done. I mean, early in the pandemic, I was having a lot of back problems and had to have surgery. I had to wait a year to get the surgery done. And I know a lot of the other veterans out there that needed medical care couldn't. It was all phone. You couldn't get that. You couldn't go to the VA to talk to anybody. So I mean, it's a tough,
situation.
Yeah, us trying to volunteer and help those veterans that are struggling. You can't be out near them. Everybody's got to be masked and quarantined, and it was a tough couple of years.
Well, the mission statement of the VFW, the American Legion, the AV,
yeah,
all those mission statements pretty much had to be put on hold.
Totally.
You couldn't get out there and do business as usual.
Yeah, and the mental health of those guys that are usually going out to the meeting or going out to the VFW hall. They were all by themselves and couldn't go anywhere, and a lot of them struggled and lost. I lost a couple of friends that came down with COVID and passed away from it, and they're had guys that were closer to them that was that way. It's going to be a tough road to get back.
But there appears to be, well, you would know, light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Wow. We said that at the end of the first year, and then it all happened again. Yeah. I keep wanting to knock on wood every time I say that. I think maybe we're coming out of this, but I think we've all learned some pretty valuable lessons about how to live with a global pandemic. We've learned a lot of valuable lessons about looking after our health and our well-being, but I think more than anything we've learnt to value human contact. We've learnt to value being able to check in on your friends. I mean, you asked Lee about from a veteran's perspective, what are some of the challenges through COVID. From somebody running a veterans service, one of the greatest challenges is not being able to see my guys, not being able to have eyes on them. And when I say eyes on them, it means just that weekly check-in. It's being able to give them a hug. It's being able to look in their eyes and know that they're okay. You can't do that on Zoom. Zoom was great for about a month and a bit. It was novel. We all felt like we were in the Brady Bunch. Yeah. And then it stopped. No one wanted to play that game if they didn't have to. No. Yeah. And, for the work that we do, that Donna does and that I do, you can't have a safe mental health conversation with somebody on a Zoom call. No. There are just too many things that can go wrong, and our ability to connect with people was so hampered during the pandemic. So, I think we've learned a lot of valuable lessons, and no one's been happier than to hug our vets than I have been in the last couple of weeks.
One of the positions that you do hold, and I think I want to make sure that viewers know, you're a registered nurse. You're an RN.
I am. I'm an RN by training. I used to be an intensive care specialist in Australia. So one of the hats I wear here in the States, I'm the community health coordinator for the Farmington Valley Health District. So my team were the ones that basically ran the COVID outreach for the Farmington Valley. So I said to Lee when I saw him for the first time in 2 years the other day, and in March 2020, I got deployed into COVID duty, and I came out just a little bit ago. Yeah. And that's where our team has been, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day for the last 2 years, keeping the community safe, but it's meant everything else has had to stop. Yeah.
It's tough. It's been tough in so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's been tough on everybody.
I think we might have talked about this before. I can't remember, but mental health first aid. Yeah. Can you tell the viewers about? I believe it was an evidence-based program, right?
It is indeed. It's something that I'm very proud to be an instructor in, and my little Australian friend here is actually here for a reason. So, mental health first aid was actually developed in Australia in 2000. It's an Australian-based program. My homeland is a country that has been ravaged by mental health issues. We've got a lot of natural disasters. that really did cause a lot of mental health challenges in the
Just
late
recently.
90s. Yeah, well,
Fires.
yeah, it's a cyclical thing in Australia, but mental health first aid actually came out of a project called Beyond Blue that looked at depression and suicide in our farmers. So they developed a mental health evidence-based program that worked with communities and helped to empower communities to have these difficult conversations and to understand what some of the risk factors to mental health challenges are and what some of the signs and symptoms are so that you can help. You know, we know that the sooner we provide people assistance, the better the chances are that they're going to be able to get a solution that's going to be a long-term solution, and recovery is possible. You know, one of the startling statistics from mental health first aid is, do you know how long it takes for a person in the United States to seek assistance if they have a mental health condition? So from the time the symptoms first begin, when do you think it is that they actually seek treatment?
It could actually be over a year.
Try a little longer than that.
Yeah.
10 years. So I like to always compare it to maybe a broken leg. Please goodness it's not going to happen, but if I slipped in the parking lot going home tonight and I broke my leg, how long do you think it would take me to get some assistance?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, because that's dramatically affecting my life. But if I have the beginnings of a mental health condition, on average, it takes up to 10 years for a person to seek treatment. So you think about the impact that that mental health condition has on that individual's life, on their family's life, on their workplace's ability to work, and their workmates' lives. That's something we can't allow to continue. So that's why something like mental health first aid is so important. We've got to destigmatize mental health.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. You know, just my past occupation, veteran. I've been around a lot of people that PTSD.
Yep.
The longer you wait, the more difficult it is to rectify the problem.
Absolutely.
If you know, for the viewers, if you know someone that's struggling right now, it's a delicate walk to try to get them to, but try to get them help, because the longer they wait, the longer it's going to take for them to get back to themselves.
You know, I like to use the analogy of the 4 L's. And the 4 L's are what make all of us happy, dynamic people. Our ability to live, love, laugh, and learn. So those 4 characteristics are what make human beings the people that we are. It's your ability to engage in life. And when you have a mental health challenge, those 4 elements of your life begin to be impacted. So the sooner you get help and assistance, the less impact it has on your ability to live your life, to love, to learn, and to laugh.
Exactly.
But the longer you leave it, the further down that road you are, the harder that treatment is, and the harder the recovery is. Absolutely.
Turns into concrete.
Absolutely.
But most military soldiers are told that you
Suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah.
Shove it down.
keep moving, or you know, you're not going to get your promotion, or we're going to take your promotion from you. It's tough, and it's, you know, I spent 8.5 years in the Army, and after 8.5 years, you're kind of stuck on that, and you know, it doesn't leave your mind.
There's a stigma that's attached.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying is that if you tell them, hey, I've got a problem, then you're in big trouble.
You know, I think we covered it, but one of the questions I wanted to ask was, why is the mental health first aid helpful for veterans and their families? I think we covered that, didn't we?
Yeah, look, I think everybody in a community benefits from mental health first aid training. In fact, if I had my way, it would be a mandatory rite of passage into adulthood. I think everybody should understand how to ask those questions. Everybody should learn to be a better friend. Everybody should be a better employer. Everyone should be a better partner. And that's what mental health first aid does. It removes a lot of the stigma that's associated with mental health. You start to see that the effects of mental health are not dissimilar to the effects of physical health. And if we start to look at mental health and physical health on the same plateau, we'll actually actually open up the abilities for people to seek treatment and to do it comfortably and openly. Shows like what you're doing are so important, because watching men like yourself and Lee talk about mental health and well-being, there's someone at home that's watching tonight that sees this and says, you know what, I think I can ask for help because that's my story. That's what Mental Health First Aid does. It allows us to identify who those individuals are and to reach out our hand and say, let's talk about it. How can I help?
Reach out to a brother and a sister that have been through a lot of the stuff that you've been through.
Yeah.
And you won't regret it. You will regret sitting back and not asking. We were talking about camaraderie, I think, in the last show.
Yeah.
And you know, take advantage of that camaraderie.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it.
Justine, are there particular strategies that people will learn in the mental health first aid class?
Yeah. Without giving too many secrets away, because you've got to come and do the class, there's a wonderful algorithm called Algae. I'm just going to leave that sitting out there. It's a little bit like in CPR, we've got Dr. ABC.
Yeah.
Algae is a very important algorithm that helps us to understand that part of our role as a mental health first aider is our ability to approach somebody, to be able to assess how somebody is and, you know, do they need help? Is this a crisis situation? Is it not a crisis situation? It helps us to listen. It shows us how we listen and how to be an active listener. It shows us how to encourage people to get help, both professional help and self-help. You know, one doesn't go without the other. You know, we as a community need to encourage people to seek professional help from therapists and mental health specialists and, you know, their general care providers. But also we need to encourage them to look after themselves. You know, what are some of the things that any of us do for self-help? We meditate, we hike. I think in your last segment you had an amazing group on that promotes hiking.
Yeah.
We eat
Silky's
well.
hike.
Yeah, we sleep. We engage with friends around us. That's what it's all about. So you'll learn all about algae and how to apply that in any mental health situation, particularly a crisis.
We've had people on the show. Donna, you've seen the skydive for veterans.
Yeah.
I mean, that's taking it to an extreme. I think I'd rather go out for a hike.
Or the fishing.
You want to go
groups or
skydiving?
Any of that. Any of the
Yeah.
where they're getting out and doing physical activity. I think I always promote that through the center, or volunteerism. There's numerous, I mean, we've had them on the show in the past, the farms and things like that, where they can go out and just do something, be with other people and socialize.
Well, one thing is, I've had a couple of veterans between Avon's post and Simsbury's post, that the older veterans that were sitting at home not doing, came out to our poppy drive and then got excited about being out there and talking to other people and talking to other veterans, and it made their day.
Yeah. And it does. And they light up once they get there. They're nervous. I'm not going to say scared. They just, you know, the wall around them won't allow it.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother story from the day we can talk about.
Well, any veteran that's out there, we're all here for you. So just ask.
You know, I think as far as, I mean, the material we're going to cover, I think we'll cut it off right here because, like I thought.
Have we just done another show already?
I think we've done another show.
My goodness.
Yeah, we've got a minute and a half left, and I got to tell you, and just as I suspected, we got enough material for a part 2, and that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely.
You will be the first 2-part series with our comeback after the 2-year
Oh,
layoff.
I love to be a 2-part comeback.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see you again on the 21st.
Absolutely.
We'll tape another very interesting. I mean, these shows are so informative. Donna, you here at the center.
And it's great now we have, I don't know if Chuck told you, but we have the Facebook page and we're on YouTube with the episodes airing on YouTube, but we are also on a podcast for Nutmeg TV.
Exactly.
So there's tons of exposure now.
Oh, wonderful.
And we'll put all the information on our Facebook page so viewers can get the information, get in contact with you.
Fabulous.
Communities can schedule the mental health aid training.
Absolutely. It's covered
You know?
by the Resilience Grows Here grant from the Movember Foundation. Obviously, our sponsors are incredibly generous, and that's part of what we do. It's about reaching communities and giving you the tools to help the veterans in your lives and your communities.
I mean, this is the new improved Veterans Corner. We're back this time after
Right
2 years,
set.
and we're going to really get the word out. That's all the time we have.
That's it.
As always, it goes by fast. It was a pleasure to have you back.
Thank you
It's
for having
always
us.
a pleasure. It's good to see you again, Lee.
Yeah, no problem.
And that's all the time we have. Good night. See you next time on the Veterans Corner. Good night.
Good night.
Sometimes life just happens. Don't worry. Farmington Motorsports will get you back on the road and at a fair price. From towing to tires, emissions to transmissions.
Our ASC certified techs do it all.
Farmington Motorsports is a family-run business. We're a Napa Auto Center and AAA approved. We work on all makes and models from preventative maintenance to major repairs.
And every repair is backed by our 2-year, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty.
When life happens to you, don't worry. Farmington Motorsports.